The Silent Station by Andy Tauber. The distress signal was faint, a whisper against the cosmic static, but it was enough to jolt me out of my calculations. "And guys," I called out, my voice echoing slightly in our small observatory. "And there's a signal coming from the silent space station." My friends, Jen, Kenny, Bradley, and Adam, gathered around the monitor. Jen, her dark brown eyes gleaming with curiosity, was the first to speak. But why would it be sending a distress signal now? Kenny, ever the inventor, was already tapping his fingers together, his mind clearly working on the possibilities. But maybe some automated system got triggered? Or maybe someone's actually there. Bradley, his expression thoughtful, clasped his hands behind his back. "It could be dangerous. We don't know what we might find." Adam, his gaze steady, added, "But if someone needs help, we can't just ignore it." My heart pounded. The silent space station. It was a legend, a relic of a bygone era of space exploration. The idea of actually going there, it was both terrifying and exhilarating, but Papa Andy's words echoed in my mind. Let's debug this together. It was our motto, our call to adventure. The choice was ours: stay safe or venture into the unknown. My desire to prove myself, to show that even a 9-year-old could make a difference, warred with my fear of the unknown. "We have to go," I finally said, my voice firm despite the tremor in my hands. "I have to see what's happening there." And so we set course for the silent space station, a mix of excitement and trepidation filling the small shuttle. As we approached the derelict vessel, a massive structure looming against the stars, a new chilling signal reached us. It wasn't the distress call. It was a voice, distorted and weak, whispering, "Don't come any closer." My hands tightened on the shuttle controls as that ghostly warning echoed through our communication system. "Don't come any closer." The words hung in the air, making the cabin feel suddenly colder. "Did everyone else hear that?" I asked, glancing at my friends. Their faces were a mix of shock and uncertainty, the weight of the moment settling heavily over us. Jen's eyes widened, her curiosity now tinged with fear. "Oh, what if it's a trap?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the shuttle. Kenny shook his head, his fingers fidgeting nervously. "But what if someone really needs our help? We can't just turn back now." Bradley, usually the voice of reason, looked pale. "We should at least consider the risks. It could be dangerous." Adam, his brow furrowed, leaned forward in his seat. "But what if this is our chance to be heroes? We've always talked about adventure. This is it." The tension in the cabin was palpable, each of us grappling with our own fears and desires. The thrill of exploration clashed violently with the instinct for self-preservation. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I can't let fear stop us. We need to find out what's going on. We owe it to whoever sent that signal. With a reluctant nod from my friends, I adjusted our course toward the silent space station. As we drew closer, the derelict structure loomed larger, its once proud exterior now marred by age and neglect. The silence outside felt oppressive, the stars twinkling in distant indifference. "Prepare for docking," I commanded, my voice steady as I focused on the task at hand. I could feel the weight of my friends' gazes on me, their hopes and fears intertwined with mine. As we maneuvered the shuttle into position, a sense of dread mingled with exhilaration. The docking clamps engaged with a shudder, and I felt a surge of adrenaline. We were here, at the silent space station, ready to uncover its secrets. I glanced at my friends, their expressions a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Pony?" I asked, trying to inject confidence into my voice. They nodded, though uncertainty flickered in their eyes. We were about to step into the unknown, a leap into darkness that could lead to discovery or danger. With one final breath, I opened the hatch, the airlock hissing as it revealed the dimly lit interior of the station. A chill ran down my spine as I stepped inside, the echo of that distorted voice still ringing in my ears. Don't come any closer." Jen leaned forward, her ponytail swinging as she adjusted our communication settings. "And definitely not a recording. That was a real-time transmission." "And who would be on an abandoned space station?" Kenny's fingers drummed nervously against his multi-tool. "And it's been empty for decades." The station loomed larger in our viewport with each passing moment, its massive frame stretching against the backdrop of Starsa hulking silhouette partially illuminated by distant sunlight. Solar panels extended like giant metal wings. Some were intact, while others were damaged from years of micrometeorite impacts. "I don't like this," Bradley said, his usually confident voice wavering slightly. "An illogical approach would be to retreat and contact NASA." "But what if someone really needs help?" Adam countered, his environmentalist heart always ready to assist. "We can't just leave them." I studied the station's exterior, noting the rust-colored patches on its once pristine white surface. Several docking ports were visible along the central hub. Most appeared damaged, but one, the emergency port, still had its guidance lights blinking weakly. "We're not leaving," I decided, steering our shuttle toward the functioning dock. "But we'll be careful. Kenny, run diagnostics on the station's life support systems." Kenny nodded, his fingers flying across the control panel. "And oxygen levels are at minimum sustainable. Temperature is 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Power is at 12% capacity." "Someone's definitely keeping basic systems running," Jen observed, her analytical mind already working through possibilities. The shuttle's proximity alarms beeped as we approached the docking port, and my stomach tightened with a mix of excitement and fear. We were actually doing this, 5 kids about to board an abandoned space station against the advice of a mysterious voice. "Docking sequence initiated," I announced, trying to keep my voice steady. The shuttle shuddered slightly as automatic systems engaged, metal clamps extending to secure us to the station. And I brought extra batteries for our equipment," Adam said, checking his backpack. Emergency rations." Bradley unfolded a digital map on his tablet. I downloaded the station's schematics. "If we stick together and follow standard exploration protocols, we should be safe." The docking mechanism clanked and hissed, the sound reverberating through our small craft. A green light illuminated on the control panel, indicating a successful seal. "And pressure equalized," Jen confirmed, checking the readings. "Can open the airlock." My heart hammered against my ribs as I rose from the pilot's seat. This was really happening. We were about to step onto the station, a place no human had visited in years. "Remember what my grandfather taught us," I said, recalling his lessons about space exploration. "Stay together, maintain communication, and trust your instruments." Kenny nodded, his expression serious despite the excitement dancing in his eyes. "And document everything. This is history in the making." We gathered our equipment, flashlights, communication devices, basic tools, and emergency supplies. The airlock door slid open with a mechanical groan, revealing a small chamber beyond. "And after you, Captain," Jen said with a small smile, gesturing toward the open doorway. I took a deep breath and stepped into the airlock. My friends followed, crowding into the small space. The outer door sealed behind us with a heavy thunk, and the inner door began its slow opening sequence. "Anyone else feeling like they're in a sci-fi movie?" Kenny whispered, his voice tight with nervous energy. The inner door finally opened, revealing a darkened corridor stretching before us. Emergency lights cast an eerie blue glow along the floor, barely illuminating our path. "Flashlights on," I instructed, clicking mine to life. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing dust particles floating in the zero-gravity environment. We pushed off gently from the airlock, floating into the main corridor. The station creaked and groaned around us, metal expanding and contracting with the temperature fluctuations of space. "And main control room should be straight ahead," Bradley said, consulting his map. "That's our best bet for finding answers." As we moved deeper into the station, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The emergency lights flickered occasionally, creating shifting shadows that played tricks on my eyes. "Do you hear that?" Adam asked suddenly, pausing mid-float. We all stopped, listening intently. At first, I heard nothing beyond the mechanical hums of the station's systems. Then it came a faint, rhythmic tapping sound, like metal on metal, coming from somewhere deeper in the station. "Could be loose equipment in a zero-G environment," Jen suggested, though her voice lacked conviction. "Oh, or someone trying to get our attention," Kenny added. I swallowed hard, recalling the warning voice. "And let's keep moving toward the control room. Stay close." The corridor widened into a junction, with 3 separate paths branching outward. The central path led to a set of double doors marked "One Command Center" in faded lettering. "That's where we need to go," I said, pointing my flashlight at the doors. As we approached, the tapping sound grew louder and more insistent. Then, just as we reached the doors, it stopped completely. The sudden silence felt more ominous than the noise had been. I don't like this," Bradley whispered, voicing what we were all thinking. I reached for the manual override on the door, my hand trembling slightly. "We've come this far. We need answers." The door slid open with surprising ease, revealing the command center beyond. What we saw inside made us all freeze in stunned silence. The command center stretched before us like a frozen tableau from another time. Dust particles danced in our flashlight beams, swirling through the weightless environment. What stopped us cold wasn't the abandoned technology or the eerie silence it was the figure floating near the main console. "Is that a person?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The figure was suspended in the center of the room, slowly rotating in zero gravity. It wore what looked like a standard NASA flight suit, but something was wrong. The suit appeared weathered, with patches and makeshift repairs visible even from our position at the doorway. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing through the cavernous space. The figure jerked at the sound, then spun to face us. The visor of their helmet reflected our flashlight beams, making it impossible to see the face inside. For a moment, nobody moved. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I was certain everyone could hear it. "Children?" The voice that came through our comms was female, rough with disuse but unmistakably human. How did you get here?" Bradley tensed beside me. "That's the voice that warned us not to come." The astronaut pushed off from the console, drifting toward us with practiced ease. As she came closer, I could see the name patch on her suit, Mackenzie. You shouldn't be here," she said, her tone firm but not threatening. "This station isn't safe." "Why? What happened here?" I asked, unable to hide the urgency in my voice. Mackenzie hesitated, her visor reflecting uncertainty. "Then there was an incident, a containment breach. We lost control of the experiments." She glanced around as if expecting something to emerge from the shadows. "We'll need to leave. Now." "But we can't just go without knowing what happened," Bradley protested, stepping forward. "Stay back," Mackenzie warned, her voice rising. "You don't understand. The station is unstable. If you trigger another breach..." "Another breach?" I interrupted. "What do you mean?" Mackenzie's expression was hidden, but I sensed her fear. Experiments were designed to manipulate time and space. We thought we could control it, but it spiraled. Now the fabric of reality is fragile here. I glanced at Bradley and the others, their faces a mix of fear and determination. We can't just abandon this. People need to know. You think anyone can help us now?" Mackenzie's voice cracked slightly. "It's too late for that. The only thing that can help is to seal this place off for good." Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the chamber, making us all jump. The lights flickered ominously, and the temperature seemed to drop. "What was that?" Bradley shouted, his eyes wide. Mackenzie's expression hardened. "We have to go, now!" Before we could react, the console behind her sparked, and a low hum filled the room. The lights dimmed again, and a warning alarm blared, sending a jolt of adrenaline through us. "Follow me," Mackenzie ordered, pushing off to navigate through the chaos. We hesitated, but quickly followed her lead, fear propelling us forward as we raced deeper into the command center, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. Jen stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. "And you're Captain Lindsey Mackenzie from the Pegasus mission, but you were reported lost 3 years ago." The astronaut halted her approach, hovering about 10 feet away. With deliberate movements, she reached up and unlocked her helmet, removing it to reveal a face that matched the photos I'd seen in science magazines. Captain Mackenzie's auburn hair floated around her head in a weightless halo, now streaked with more silver than in her official NASA portraits. Her ice blue eyes studied us with a mixture of confusion and concern. "Sin wasn't lost," she said simply. "Sin I was abandoned," Kenny gasped. "Tonasa would never." Not NASA, Mackenzie interrupted. Something happened during my last mission. Something I can't fully explain. She gestured to the command center around us. I've been trying to piece it together ever since. Adam pushed gently off the wall, floating closer to examine some of the equipment. You've been living here, alone, for 3 years? Mackenzie nodded. One in the station had enough emergency supplies to keep me alive. I've been rationing carefully and maintaining minimal systems. I studied the command center more closely now. What I had initially taken for random disarray was actually an organized workspace. Handwritten notes covered several surfaces, and dismantled equipment was arranged in neat patterns. A makeshift sleeping area had been created near a heating vent. But why didn't you signal for help sooner? I asked, trying to make sense of it all. Mackenzie's expression darkened. Son, I did. For months, no one responded. She turned toward one of the workstations. And I discovered something on the station's secure servers data that someone didn't want found. What kind of data? Bradley asked, his strategic mind clearly working through possibilities. End research files, experimental technology. Mackenzie ran a hand through her floating hair, in evidence that my mission was sabotaged. The command center suddenly felt colder. I exchanged glances with my friends, seeing my own uncertainty reflected in their eyes. Captain Mackenzie, I said, straightening my shoulders. When Betumi picked up your distress signal, we came to help. A shadow passed over her face. And I didn't send a distress signal. Not recently. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. If she hadn't sent the signal that brought us here, who had? As if in answer, the lights in the command center suddenly brightened. Dormant screens flickered to life around us, bathing the room in a pale blue glow. Mackenzie reacted instantly, pushing off toward the main console. Oh, no, she muttered. It's happening again. And what's happening? Jen asked, drifting to one of the secondary stations. One of the station's systems keep activating on their own, Mackenzie explained, her fingers flying over the controls. Power surges, communication attempts, data transfers all without my input. Kenny examined a nearby terminal. Could be automated protocols or... It's not automated, Mackenzie cut him off. It's deliberate, directed, as if the station itself is. She trailed off, apparently realizing how it sounded. Alive? Adam suggested quietly. Mackenzie's gaze locked with mine, and I think someone or something is controlling the station remotely. And I think it wanted me here. Now it wants you too. A chill ran down my spine. But why? Before Mackenzie could answer, a loud metallic groan echoed through the station. The floor beneath us vibrated slightly. What was that? Bradley asked, grabbing onto a handrail. Mackenzie's expression hardened. And docking clamps. Your shuttle. A distant boom interrupted her words, followed by an alarm blaring through the command center. Warning, external craft disengaged. Warning, external craft disengaged, an automated voice announced. I pushed off toward the nearest viewport, pressing my face against the reinforced glass. Outside, our shuttle was drifting away from the station, its thrusters firing in short, controlled bursts. Oh, our shuttle, I shouted. Someone's controlling it remotely. Mackenzie appeared beside me, her face grim. Now you understand why I warned you not to come. We're all trapped here now. The alarm continued to wail as Mackenzie tried to regain control of the systems. We need to find the source of this interference, she insisted. If we can stabilize the power fluctuations, we might be able to regain control of the station. But how? Jen asked, glancing nervously at the screens flashing warnings. We need to access the experimental power source in the lower levels, Mackenzie replied. It's unstable, which could explain the erratic behavior. If we can stabilize it, we might stop whatever is causing this chaos. Kenny nodded, determination replacing his earlier trepidation. And let's do it. We can work together. We followed Mackenzie down narrow corridors, the fluorescent lights flickering ominously overhead. As we descended deeper into the station, the air grew colder, and the hum of machinery intensified. Finally, we reached the power core room, a vast chamber filled with complex machinery and glowing conduits. The experimental power source pulsed erratically in the center, crackling with energy. "Everyone, stay back," Mackenzie ordered. She approached the core cautiously, her eyes scanning the readings. "If we can realign these conduits, we might stabilize the power fluctuations." The rest of us gathered around, watching as Mackenzie worked her magic. Her fingers danced over the controls, and slowly, the pulsing of the core began to stabilize. "Ease, just a little more," she urged, sweat beading on her forehead. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently and alarms blared louder. "It's fighting us!" I shouted. "We have to keep going," Adam urged. "We can't let it win." With renewed focus, we assisted Mackenzie, relaying information and rerouting commands. After what felt like an eternity, the core finally settled, the alarms silencing in a final echoing beep. "We did it!" Jen cheered, a grin spreading across her face. Mackenzie exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. "Now, let's see what else we can find." As the system stabilized, we accessed the databanks, uncovering information about ancient alien civilizations and groundbreaking technology hidden within the station. Mackenzie described how she had been investigating this breakthrough when everything went wrong. "This could change everything," she said, her eyes wide with excitement as she scanned the data. "We need to take samples and records back with us. This knowledge could pave the way for future expeditions." With the power restored and newfound knowledge at our fingertips, we carefully gathered samples and data before making our way back to the command center. As we approached the viewport once more, we could see our shuttle, now tethered safely to the station. "Hey, let's get back," I said, my heart racing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. With Mackenzie guiding us, we secured the samples and activated the shuttle's docking sequence. As we departed the station, we marveled at the information we carried with us, information that would change humanity's understanding of space. The kids returned home as heroes, armed with insights that promised to inspire future scientific endeavors. We had faced the unknown together, and we emerged stronger, ready to share our discoveries with the world. My mind raced as I watched our shuttle drift away, our only way home disappearing into the vast emptiness of space. 5 kids and 1 astronaut, trapped on an abandoned space station with mysterious forces at work. "Can we remote pilot it back?" I asked, my voice cracking slightly. Captain Mackenzie shook her head. "When the shuttle's controls are being overridden, someone else has taken command." "But who?" Kenny asked, his eyes wide behind his glasses. "And how?" Mackenzie turned to face us all, her expression grim but determined. That's what I've been trying to figure out for 3 years. The station has an experimental power core, something that wasn't included in the official blueprints." Bradley pushed off from the wall, floating toward one of the computer terminals. "What kind of power core?" "It's called quantum resonance technology," Mackenzie explained, and it was designed to harness energy from quantum fluctuations in space-time. Jen gasped. "That's theoretical physics. No one has been able to make that work yet." "Someone did," Mackenzie said, gesturing around us, "and it's unstable. The power surges and system malfunctions are all connected to the core's instability." A loud hum suddenly filled the command center, and the lights flickered ominously. The computer screens around us flashed with error messages and warning signals. "It's happening again," Mackenzie said, pushing toward the main console. "The core is destabilizing." I joined her at the console, scanning the readouts. Though I was only 9, I understood enough about power systems from my studies with Papa Andy to recognize trouble. "The energy output is spiking," I noted, pointing to a rapidly climbing graph. "And if it keeps going like this, a whole station could overload," Mackenzie finished. Kenny appeared beside us, his multi-tool already in hand. "What if we reroute the power through the auxiliary systems? Create a bypass?" Mackenzie looked at him with newfound respect. "SAT might work, but we'd need to access the maintenance tunnels." "And I have the station schematics," Bradley offered, pulling up the map on his tablet. "The nearest access point is 2 levels down." Mackenzie nodded. "We need to move quickly. Alexander, you and Kenny come with me to the maintenance tunnels. The rest of you stay here and monitor the power levels." "A man, we should stay together," Adam protested. Here's no time," Mackenzie said firmly. And I need people I can trust watching those readouts. I swallowed hard, both terrified and oddly proud that Captain Mackenzie wanted me on her team. We'll fix this, I promised my friends. Mackenzie led Kenny and me through a maze of corridors, our flashlights cutting through the dimness. The station groaned around us, metal contracting and expanding as the power fluctuations affected the temperature controls. "Here," Mackenzie said, stopping at a small hatch in the floor. "This leads to the maintenance tunnels." She spun the manual release, and the hatch popped open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. A narrow tunnel stretched below, barely wide enough for an adult to navigate. "I'll go first," Mackenzie said, Ben Alexander, with Kenny bringing up the rear. We descended into the tunnel, moving in single file through the cramped space. The walls were lined with cables and pipes, some pulsing with energy that made my hair stand on end. "And power course should be just ahead," Mackenzie called back to us. "So we need to find the main junction box and install the bypass." Kenny clutched his multi-tool tighter. "What if this doesn't work?" "Then we'll try something else," I said, projecting more confidence than I felt. When Papa Andy always says there's no such thing as an unsolvable problem, only solutions we haven't discovered yet, Mackenzie glanced back at me with a small smile. "Your grandfather sounds like a wise man." We reached a large chamber at the end of the tunnel. In the center stood a cylindrical structure that hummed with energy. Blue-white light pulsed from within, casting eerie shadows across the walls. "The quantum resonance core," Mackenzie whispered, a mix of awe and apprehension in her voice. Kenny whistled low. "It's beautiful and deadly if we don't stabilize it," Mackenzie reminded us. She pointed to a control panel nearby. "That's the junction box. Kenny, can you work your magic?" Kenny nodded, floating over to the panel and prying it open with his multi-tool. Inside was a complex array of circuits and wires that would have confused most adults, but Kenny's eyes lit up with recognition. "And I can reroute the power flow," he said, already tracing circuits with his fingers. "I'll need something to use as a conductor." Mackenzie unclipped a metal tool from her belt. "And how will this work?" Kenny examined it. "Perfect. Alexander, I need you to watch the core. If the light starts pulsing faster, we need to know immediately." I positioned myself where I could see both Kenny's work and the core. The blue-white light continued its rhythmic pulsing, but I noticed it was speeding up slightly. "It's getting faster," I warned. Kenny's fingers moved with incredible precision, disconnecting and reconnecting wires. "Almost done. Just need to connect these last two circuits," and a sudden surge of energy made the entire chamber shake. The core's light flared blindingly bright, and I threw my arm up to shield my eyes. "Kenny!" I shouted. "Got it!" he yelled back. The light dimmed suddenly, settling into a steady, gentle glow. The violent humming subsided to a soft purr. "You did it," Mackenzie breathed, checking the readings on a small device attached to her suit. "And the power levels are stabilizing." Kenny grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Just a little rewiring." Our comms crackled to life with Jen's excited voice. "Whatever you guys did worked. The systems are coming back online and we're regaining control." "That's not all," Bradley added. "And the computers are unlocking. There's data here, tons of it." Mackenzie's eyes widened. "And the research files. They must have been protected by encryption tied to the core's frequency." We made our way back to the command center, moving more easily now that the station's artificial gravity had stabilized. When we arrived, we found Jen, Bradley, and Adam huddled around the main console, their faces illuminated by the screen's glow. "And you won't believe what we found," Jen said, not even looking up as we entered. "What did you find?" I pushed myself forward, eager to see the screen. The display showed a complex series of diagrams and equations that made my head spin. Strange symbols lined the edges of the documents, unlike any scientific notation I'd ever seen. "These aren't NASA files," Bradley said, his voice hushed with awe. "The language structure doesn't match any known human coding protocols." As the chaos subsided, we began to decipher the data about ancient alien civilizations and groundbreaking technology hidden within the station. Mackenzie explained how she had been investigating this breakthrough when things went wrong. "And we need to use this newfound knowledge to pave the way for future expeditions," she urged. As we prepared to leave the station, we collected samples and data that promised to change humanity's understanding of space. The kids returned home as heroes, armed with information that would inspire future scientific endeavors. Captain Mackenzie moved closer, her eyes widening as she scanned the screen. I knew he knew it. This is what I've been trying to access for 3 years. What exactly are we looking at? Kenny asked, adjusting his glasses. Mackenzie touched the screen, enlarging one of the diagrams. Evidence of an ancient civilization, one that existed long before humans evolved on Earth. My heart skipped a beat. Aliens? Real aliens? Not just evidence of their existence, Jen said, her voice trembling with excitement, but their technology too. Look at these energy conversion formulas are revolutionary. Adam pointed to another section of data. Tani's propulsion designs could make interstellar travel possible within a human lifetime. Mackenzie nodded. Well, that's why this station was built in secret. A small group within NASA discovered signals coming from this region of space mathematical patterns too precise to be natural. So they built this station to investigate? I asked. Yes. Officially, this was just another research platform, but its true purpose was to study these signals and the technology they described. Mackenzie sighed. And I was sent here to evaluate the findings, but something went wrong in T and power core, Kenny guessed. It's based on the alien technology, isn't it? Mackenzie's expression confirmed it. Cine tried to replicate the quantum resonance technology described in the signals, but they didn't fully understand it. The core became unstable, and the station started exhibiting unusual behaviors. Like sending our shuttle away, Bradley said grimly, and bringing us here in the first place, I added, pieces clicking together in my mind. The distress signal we received at the station must have sent it automatically when it detected our approach. Mackenzie looked at me with newfound respect. Oh, you're quick, Alexander. Yes, that's my theory too. The station's systems have developed some form of rudimentary intelligence, drawing from the alien data. So what happened to the original crew? Adam asked quietly. Mackenzie's face darkened. When they evacuated when the core first destabilized. I stayed behind to secure the data and stabilize the systems. But before my shuttle could return, the station locked down completely. And NASA couldn't send a rescue mission? Jen asked. An official record shows this station was decommissioned years ago. My mission was classified off the books. Mackenzie's voice carried a trace of bitterness. When things went wrong, it was easier to list me as lost in an unrelated accident than to admit what they'd found out here. Kenny finished tinkering with the control panel. The core is stable now, and we've unlocked the data. We need to take this information back to Earth, I said firmly. TIS could change everything we know about space travel, energy production, maybe even our understanding of human history. Mackenzie nodded slowly. You're right. But we need to be careful about who we share it with. The same people who abandoned me might try to bury this discovery again. And my grandfather will know what to do, I said confidently. Sapa Andy worked for NASA for decades. He still has connections with scientists who care about truth more than politics. First, we need to get home, Bradley reminded us. Our shuttle's gone, remember? Mackenzie smiled for the first time since we met her. Actually, there's an emergency escape pod. It's small, but it should fit all of us. Will it reach Earth? Adam asked. With some modifications based on these propulsion designs, Mackenzie gestured to the alien data. Shun, I think we can make it work. Over the next few hours, we downloaded the alien data onto our tablets and collected samples from the station. Kenny and Mackenzie worked together to modify the escape pod's engines using principles from the alien technology. Bradley mapped the most efficient return trajectory, while Jen and Adam gathered biological samples from an experiment chamber we discovered hidden behind a false wall. I focused on organizing the data, separating the theoretical science from the practical applications. My mind raced with possibilities. The energy conversion formulas alone could solve Earth's climate crisis, and the medical applications hinted at in some files might cure diseases we thought were incurable. Too ready for departure, Mackenzie announced, closing the final panel on the escape pod. Upon we've increased efficiency by nearly 300% using just the basic principles from the alien data. We crowded into the pod, which was cramped but manageable. As Mackenzie initiated the launch sequence, I took one last look at the station through the viewport. "Do you think we'll ever come back?" I asked quietly. Mackenzie followed my gaze. I think humanity will build many more stations like this, but better, safer, with a proper understanding of the technology. What we're bringing back will pave the way." The pod detached from the station with a gentle shudder. Earth appeared in the distance, a beautiful blue marble against the blackness of space. "Oh, going home," Mackenzie said, her voice steady yet emotional, "with knowledge that will change everything." As our pod accelerated toward Earth, I clutched my tablet containing the alien data. We weren't just returning as survivors of an adventure, we were coming back as messengers of a new era in human history.